Hello everybody, we are here to define the terms for Vocabulary Unit 1. You can find this list in your course introduction folder, and then if you scroll down to the course overview, in that section, if you open up that mini folder, you'll find Senior Vocabulary Words 2018-2019 Revised. Okay, take a moment to jot down those terms, because what I'm going to do right now is just go through the definitions together with you so that you'll have an idea of what I'm looking for when we take our first quiz in the following week. Okay, so hopefully you paused this little video and gave yourself the opportunity to jot down the words. We'll just go in order based on the terms that are here on the page. And the first one is adjunct. You often hear this expression with regard to professors in a college setting. An adjunct professor is a secondary addition. It's non-essential, although don't tell an adjunct professor that, they wouldn't be too happy. But they're not a full tenured professor in that sense. So anything that's adjunct is in addition to a secondary or non-essential addition. An admonition is a warning. You can think about what the witches said to Macbeth as a sort of admonition. Beware Macduff, for example. It's a gentle kind of, it doesn't have to be gentle all the time, but a gentle reproof could also be considered an admonition, a warning. To admonish is the root, that's a verb that is the root of admonition. So it's basically the same definition, only in a verb term. So to warn, or to exhort, to express disapproval. The child was admonished for putting their greasy fingers on the walls. During Christmas time, you may adorn the outside or exterior of your house with Christmas lights. To adorn is to put decorations on. To enhance, to enliven something, to adorn. If you are the subject of adulation, you are the subject of admiration. Someone puts you on a pedestal, admiration or flattery, excessive, right? Adoration, adulation. To adulterate a mixture, if you take water and you add something to it, you may actually make it worse, which is what adulterate does. You could see the word adultery, which is to make worse the marriage relationship, because it's what you've done has made it impure. So to adulterate something is to corrupt it, to debase it, to make impure. An adversary is an enemy, an opponent. He was a worthy adversary. And using the same root, again, adversity. If you undergo adversity, nobody wants adversity, nobody wants misfortune, but very often it will make you stronger, right? A state of difficulty, a challenge. Adversity. Now we have a whole nother set. An advocate, if I pronounce it that way, an advocate is a person who defends a cause or supports a cause. If you want to verb form advocate for something, it means you want to support it, to support or argue for something. When someone is affable, that person is friendly, charming, pleasant to be around, being pleasant. We all know affected means to be influenced by, but when we're actually going to do the other definition of this one, and we use it as an adjective rather than a verb. And to have affected behavior is to sort of pretend, to act a certain way when you really don't feel it. So having or showing pretense, falsehood, hypocrisy, having or showing an attitude that isn't genuine. It isn't honest. He was guilty of using affected prose, affected artsy prose in his writing. It wasn't really genuine. If you have an affinity for something, you have a liking for it or a sympathy towards. And if you wake up in the morning and you recite these affirmations, these are positive assertions. A positive assertion: I am going to be strong today, a confirmation. I affirm it. An affliction is a cause of pain. That was the source of his affliction, her infidelity, a cause of pain, a cause of distress, suffering. Affront can be a noun or a verb, meaning the same thing, really, but an affront is an insult. I didn't like to hear his affronts, or I was affronted, to insult, by what he said. Agent is a very simple word, but one that you kind of struggle with regard to how to put it into words. An agent is one who acts or exerts power. He was an agent of change. They're authorized to act in the place for someone else sometimes too. If you're standing there aghast, you're standing there probably with open mouth, just struck, right? You're struck with terror and horror. She stood aghast over what happened. It could be amazement too. I should also include that. It doesn't have to be something horrible. To complete a task with great alacrity is to complete it with promptness. Cheerful promptness, as a matter of fact. A long time ago, especially in the medieval times, alchemy was the belief that you could turn base metals into gold. So it was a medieval science and philosophy, aiming to turn base metals to gold. From the time of the Middle Ages. An alias is an additional name. His alias was such and such, An additional name. An alias is a pretend name, is also known as. To allay a baby, a baby's cries is to calm them, to soothe them, to placate. To allay, to make quiet, right? The alleged criminal, right? The alleged assailant. It means that we're asserting this, but we haven't proven it yet. To assert without proof. If you have a certain allegiance toward a particular team or a particular cause, it means you have a certain loyalty or fidelity to that team or to that cause. We pledge allegiance every day to the flag and the United States of America, right? And allure, if someone has a certain allure, it is a certain charm, right? So to allure someone is to entice them by charm or by attraction. Think about allure an L-U-R-E in fishing. It's to reel in the fish. It's to bring them in. That's kind of what allure is too, as a word that doesn't deal with fishing. Okay, so that is the series of definitions for Unit 1.